landing weight, so if we're able, we will hold and burn off fuel before returning to the airport. The departure routine will be via ATC assigned SID, comply with all the published speed and altitude restrictions. We'll use NADP1. Any questions, comments, concerns?
No questions.
Departure brief complete.
Good morning, welcome to Ryanair Flight 1680. We'll depart from Corfu.
Baggage runway 21 right, Wings 1548.
On this morning's flight will be covering a distance of 1,245 nautical miles with an estimated flight time of 3 hours and 13 minutes.
534, Wings 1548.
Good morning, Alpha Control, Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, on the ground at Kakira. Stand for information Juliet, question iFly to Birmingham as filed.
Hello. Hello, Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, clear to Birmingham via Allgate 2 Foxtrot, runway 34, flight level 80, scope 3702.
Birmingham on the Allgate 2 Foxtrot departure, flight level 80 and squawking 3702, Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec.
Ryanair 15 Juliet, Quebec, second please.
Pittsburgh on the Allgate 2 Foxtrot, flight level 80, squawk 3702, Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec.
Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, readback is correct.
Before start checklist.
Stand by.
The APU power now, which is the auxiliary power unit located in the tail on the aircraft. That supplies the systems with their electrical power. Then we disconnect the ground power unit. Up 5 test.
Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door closed and locked. MCP.
V220, heading 000, altitude 8,000.
Takeoff speeds.
V1139, VR 141 V2152.
CDU pre-flight.
Completed.
Rudder and aileron trim.
3 and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Anti-collision light on before start checklist completed.
Pull now for push and start. Now the tug's in position. Control Ryanair 51 Juliet Quebec, ready for push and start.
Ryanair 15 Juliet Quebec, push and start approved, face south.
Start approved, face south, Ryanair 51 Juliet Quebec.
Start sequence is 2, then 1.
Check.
Start engine 2.
Starting engine 2. Oil pressure. Starter cutout. Number 2, stable.
Start engine 1.
Starting engine 1.
Ready for descent, Olympic 06.
Olympic 063, descent flight level 170.
170, Olympic 063.
Flight controls check complete. Before taxi checklist.
Stand by.
Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Generators on, probe heat on, anti-ice off, isolation valve, auto, engine start switches, continuous, recall,
Checked.
checked, auto brake, RTO, engine start levers,
Idle detent.
flight controls,
Checked.
ground equipment,
Clear.
clear. Before taxi checklist completed.
Clear left.
Clear right.
Control Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, ready for taxi.
Ryanair 15 Juliet, Quebec, taxi backtrack and line up runway 34.
Taxi and backtrack, 34. Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, thanks.
My feet.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, the cabin is secure.
May we have your complete attention as we demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft. These features may differ from aircraft that you have flown on before. Please remove headphones for this demonstration. All emergency exits are indicated by a red exit sign, and the four-path markings will guide you to the nearest exit in an emergency. The exits are located on both sides of the aircraft, at the front,
6.
in the middle, and at the rear of the cabin. All exits are also shown on the safety card. The nearest exit may be behind you. In case of an emergency evacuation, you must leave all your hand baggage behind. To fasten a seatbelt, insert the metal end into the buckle and secure by pulling the loose end. To open the seatbelt, lift the buckle cover. In case of a loss of cabin pressure, masks like this will drop automatically from the panels above your head. Remain seated and pull down firmly on the mask to stop the flow of oxygen. Place the mask over your nose and mouth, secure.
Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 5, green light.
Stabilizer trim.
6.0 units.
Before takeoff checklist completed.
The life jackets are stowed in a pocket beneath your seat or in the panel above your head. If it's needed, remove the jacket from its packet and place it over your head. Bring the strap around your waist, clip at the front, and secure as shown. To inflate the life jacket, pull down sharply on the red toggle. There is a mouth for further
Atlantic 063, descend 9,000 feet, QNH 1016.
until you are anchored.
9,000 with 1016, Celebrity 03.
Please study the safety card located within the area.
Athens radar tronic 69 Delta Bravo, level, flight level 350.
Specific to this aircraft type. It is essential that cabin.
Sonic 600 Delta Bravo, welcome, fly direct to Gonzo for RMP 27.
Anywhere on board. Your hand baggage must be securely stowed in the overhead.
Direct Gonzo RMP 27, tronic 69 Delta Bravo.
Any aisle or exit. Now please ensure that your seatbelt is securely fastened. Tray table.
Before takeoff procedure.
Okay, cabin crew, take your seats. Clear on the approach.
We recommend that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times.
Ready to go.
Portable electronic devices such as tablets and mobile phones in flight mode may be used throughout the flight. Please select flight mode now and hold your device securely or place it in a pocket.
Olympic 063, QNH 1015 now.
Aircraft produces
1015.
into the seat structure. Please inform the cabin crew immediately. Larger devices, including laptops, must be switched off and stowed in your cabin baggage for takeoff and landing. Thank you for your attention. Please sit back, relax.
Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, clear for takeoff runway 34, wind calm.
Take off runway 34, Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec.
Crystal white gets them bright again.
On runway 34.
Takeoff.
Thrust set. $80 knots.
Checked.
Go. Rotate.
Gear up.
Gear up. Positive climb.
Command A.
Autopilot on. 400 feet.
Engage heading select.
Heading select.
Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1 set.
Flaps up.
Speed checked. Flaps up.
Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec. Radar identified. Climb flight level 300.
Starter cutout.
Climbing flight level 300, Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec.
Number 1 stable.
So we've just been cleared to flight level 300. You may have noticed we're not accelerating particularly quickly yet. And that's because of what's known as the 250 knot rule. Most countries' aircraft are restricted to 250 knots indicated airspeed below 10,000 feet, unless specifically authorised otherwise by air traffic control. It's primarily there to reduce collision risk and give pilots more time to react in busy airspace. Once we pass 10,000 feet, we can accelerate and continue the climb at higher speeds, which is why you'll often...
Olympic 063, descend 7,000.
7,000 Olympic.
Which is why you'll often see airliners suddenly pick up pace during the departure.
Flight level 100. Happy to release the cabin?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We're above 10,000 now. We'll increase the speed to 320 knots.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome aboard our flight. My name is Kirsty. I'm your cabin services director for today. I hope that you're comfortable and enjoying your flight so far. I'd like to extend a personal welcome to our frequent flyer club members. It's nice to see some familiar faces on board. Our frequent flyer program is designed to recognise and reward regular travellers by providing additional services and benefits, including lounges, priority check-in and free flights. Please speak to a member of staff of the cabin crew or visit our website for more information about our frequent
Olympic 063, descend 6,000.
The cabin crew will shortly be passing through the cabin to commence our in-flight service. We offer a full bar service with a selection of hot and cold drinks, beers, wines and spirits, and a selection of snacks. Our meal service will start once we've reached our cruising altitude. Just a reminder to keep your seatbelt fastened while you are seated. Our flight entertainment will commence with the news on Channel 11 and a preview show on Channel 1. We will also be playing a short video which we recommend watching to further aid your well-being in the air. The majority of films we show on board are the same as you would see in the cinema. Please refer to the entertainment schedule in your copy of the onboard magazine to determine the suitability of the program for you and your children. Some channels in your in-flight entertainment system can be locked on request by the cabin crew should you not wish your children to see specific programs. Before the news and preview show, we'll be playing a short video for the benefits of our business
Olympic
class
063, speed 220 knots or less.
Comfort from your seat.
220 or less,
After
Olympic
watching this video, there is any aspects of the operation of your seats that you require further assistance with. One of us will be help. Those passengers in first, business class and laptops may also receive the PC power system available on board this aircraft. Please disconnect if you want to sleep, and please don't use the in-seat power to recharge your laptop. Later in the flight, we'll be passing through the cabin with our Shopping the World range of tax and duty-free goods. For full details, please refer to the latest edition of our Shopping the World brochure, which you'll find in the seat back pockets in front of you. If there's anything we can do to make your flight more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask myself or any of the cabin crew. Thank you.
Olympic 063, descend 4,000 feet.
4,000, Olympic 063.
Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, monitor 122.8. Good night.
Okay, Unicom, all the best. Take care, Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec.
You too, bye.
So for those just joining us, welcome aboard Ryanair flight 1680 from Corfu to Birmingham. We've departed Corfu and continuing our climb towards our planned cruise altitude, which is flight level 380 or 38,000 feet. Some of the flight time is expected to be around 3 hours from now, as we make our way northwest across Europe and back to the UK. We've just been handed off the Unicom. For anyone unfamiliar with VATSIM, that simply means there are currently no air traffic controllers online in this sector, so pilots make position and intention broadcasts to each other on a common frequency instead. It's a very normal part of flying on the network, particularly outside the busier terminal areas, and we'll continue monitoring for any traffic while proceeding along our route. The aircraft is performing well, the weather is looking good, and we'll continue the climb to flight level 380 before settling into the cruise. And for those just joining us, Ryanair 1680 is currently climbing to flight level 380, operating from Corfu to Birmingham. Everything's going smoothly and we're making good progress back towards the UK. We're now crossing the Adriatic Sea, body of water separating Italy from the Balkans. This route is used by hundreds of holiday flights every summer heading back towards Northern Europe.
(1,000 to level).
So it's only 1,000 feet. We level off at 38,000 feet. And if you watch the N2 dials there, you'll see once we start cruising, the engines will roll back. So effectively at cruise, we're burning significantly less fuel than when we were during the climb.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll soon be passing through the cabin with your meal. On the menu today we have a variety of dishes, full details of which can be found in our onboard magazine inside the seat back pockets in front of you. During the meal service we ask that you return your seat to the upright position as a courtesy to your fellow travellers. Thank you.
So you can now see the thrust levers repositioning as the plane settles into the cruise. So during the climb, the M2 was roughly 92 and now rolled back to 81.2. That still allows the aircraft to burn significantly less fuel. So what's interesting about European flying is how quickly everything changes. In just over 3 hours, we'll go from the Greek island in the Mediterranean to the heart of England. I think half a dozen countries and multiple cultures on the way. The next waypoint is Lumar, so that means we're now tracking along the Albanian coastline. So even though the aircraft feels calm and stable, we're travelling at roughly 500 miles per hour. We drive from Birmingham to London faster by helicopter than by car, but we still need almost 3 hours to cover the distance we're flying tonight. So a question that comes up quite often is, why do airliners fly so high? And it's a pretty simple answer there. The reason is because of the weather. Most of the clouds and turbulence are below us, so flying at 38,000 feet is often smoother and more fuel efficient than flying at lower altitudes. So even though we're at 38,000 feet, the cabin is pressurised to feel more like being on a mountain around 6,000 to 8,000 feet above sea level. For anyone interested in following along, there's a VATSIM radar link pinned in the chat. Click that link, you'll be able to track our flight live as we make our way from Corfu to Birmingham. One of the really cool things about VATSIM radar is that it doesn't just show our aircraft. Every other aircraft you see on the map is another real person flying somewhere in the world right now. And the next waypoint coming up is Sokol. So at that point there, we'll be crossing Bosnia and Herzegovina in the heart of the Balkans, a region shaped by centuries of European and Ottoman history. So tonight's route takes us from Corfu in Greece, across the Balkans through Central Europe, across Germany and into the UK. It's a great example of how quickly aviation connects different parts of Europe. What would take days by road takes us just about 3 hours by air. Zooming in there on the primary flight display, we're actually seeing there is the terrain radar. So the aircraft is comparing our current altitude to the terrain ahead and showing us how much clearance we have. Cruising at flight level 380, so most terrain is far below us, which is why you see mainly green colours. If there were mountains close to our altitude, you start seeing yellow and eventually red indications. Green generally means terrain is well below the aircraft, yellow means terrain is getting closer to our altitude, and red indicates terrain that could become a hazard if we continue descending towards it. So if you look into the top left corner, you'll see the arrow, which is southwesterly. That's the wind information. So it's showing 327 degrees knots. Sorry, 327 degrees wind at 26 knots. So the whether that wind helps or hurts us depends on its direction. If it's behind us, it's a tailwind and effectively gives us a free push towards Birmingham. If it's in front of us, it's a headwind and slows our progress over the ground. So even though the aircraft is flying through the air at roughly the same speed, our ground speed can change significantly depending on the wind. That's why airlines pay so much attention to wind forecasts when planning fuel and flight times. So using the previous wind as an example, on some Atlantic crossings, a strong jet stream can make a flight more than an hour quicker in one direction and more than an hour longer in the other.
You have control.
I have control. So one thing that's easy to forget is when we started tonight on the ground in Corfu, this aircraft was completely cold and dark. Every screen was off, every system was shut down, and we had to bring the aircraft to life step by step before departure. Modern airliners are basically flying data centres before we even moving in. We're loading routes, fuel figures, performance calculations, weather information, and navigation databases. So on the pedestal below us, where you can see the waypoint and the speed and altitude constraints. That little box is the flight management computer, or FMC. Essentially the aircraft's brain. It knows where we're going, how much fuel we have, what altitude we're flying at, and even predicts our arrival time. The FMC is constantly calculating. Every second it's updating fuel burn, estimated time of arrival, ETAs, wind corrections, and aircraft performance. So a lot of people always ask, why do airliners have two pilots? Obviously we're on VATSIM this evening. I'm flying this on my own. I am using FS2 crew, so I have an automated first officer who goes through the pre-flight procedures as we set up the aircraft in Corfu earlier. That reduces the workload. Although I can fly this on my own, having that help significantly improves the experience, in my opinion. So back to the original question, why do airliners have two pilots? People often ask that. Not because one pilot can't fly the aircraft, it's because aviation is built around cross-checking, and simply two sets of eyes catch more mistakes than one. Another question I get asked is people unsure about VATSIM, what to do, and the procedures to follow. So I still remember my first VATSIM flight. I was absolutely terrified of pressing the push to talk button. It's a bit crazy. You can go from your 9 to 5, talking to people all day on various online meetings, etc. And you find yourself in your living room absolutely petrified to talk to some stranger who is your air traffic control for that evening. So I've got quite a good story, and this is my probably third ever VATSIM flight. I'd been looking around, predominantly flew out of airports that didn't have any ATC on because of the being petrified. So one of my earliest VATSIM flights was departing Birmingham. I got everything ready, started taxiing, and completely forgot to call ground. A few moments later, I heard my call sign, followed by a fairly direct reminder from ATC asking what exactly I thought I was doing. Needless to say, I learned very quickly that it's a good idea to check whether controllers are online before you start moving. You live and learn, everyone makes mistakes when they're new. So currently just past 1,800 hours on VATSIM. Sounds impressive until I remember how many times I've still made mistakes. One thing aviation teaches you very quickly is that experience doesn't make you perfect. It just helps you recognise mistakes sooner. So why is VATSIM? Why VATSIM is different? The biggest difference between VATSIM and offline flying is accountability. If you forget a set list offline, nobody knows. If you taxi onto an active runway on VATSIM, somebody usually notices. And the pushback process. Before an aircraft even leaves the stand, we've already checked weather, fuel, route, performance calculations, departure procedures, and aircraft systems. Most of the work in aviation happens before the wheels start moving. So the ATC reality. The problems aren't trying to catch you out, they're trying to keep everyone moving safely and efficiently. The best VATSIM controllers make a busy frequency sound effortless. So the funny reality of airline flying. People imagine airline pilots are constantly hand flying and making dramatic decisions. In reality, a lot of the job is planning ahead, monitoring systems and staying ahead of the aircraft. So if you're thinking about trying VATSIM, don't be intimidated. Every pilot you see on the network today was new once. Most of us have a story about getting something wrong. Mine just happened to involve Birmingham ground, finding me halfway to the runway. If we look out of the left window now, you'll actually see an aircraft which is heading towards us. And that'll be another pilot on the network who's also flying. That just happens to be another Ryanair, so nice company 737 there. So when you see the planes side by side there, it gives you a real comparison of 500 miles one way and 500 miles an hour the other way. Yet you can look up at night and it looks like planes are hardly moving. It's all about perception, it's the distance. Really, they're travelling 500 miles per hour. They just look like they're not moving at all. A quick update from the flight deck. We're currently established at flight level 380 and continuing northwest towards Birmingham. With approximately 853 nautical miles remaining, and we're making good progress across Europe. The aircraft is performing normally, the weather ahead is looking favourable, and we'll begin preparing for our arrival later in the flight. So we're currently cruising at Mach 0.81. Rather than using knots, aircraft at high altitude often use Mach number, which is a percentage of the speed of sound. Mach 1 is the speed of sound, so Mach 0.81 means we're travelling at roughly 81% of the speed of sound. At our altitude, that works out at roughly 460 to 480 knots true airspeed, or roughly 850 to 900 kilometres per hour, depending on temperature and atmospheric conditions. So as an aircraft climbs higher, pilots transition from flying a specific speed in knots to flying a Mach number. That's because the speed of sound changes with altitude and temperature. So the 737 MAX typically cruises somewhere between Mach 0.79 to 0.81, so we're right in the sweet spot for efficiency and performance. So look on the FMC now. You'll see the destination Echo Golf Bravo Bravo. That's the ICAO code for Birmingham. And you normally see on your boarding ticket VATSIM. So estimating 3.8 tonnes, which is above our reserve fuel, so plenty to get us to Birmingham.
Centre fuel pumps off.
So you just heard the first officer there, centre fuel pumps off. That's simply we've depleted that fuel now, so we'll turn the fuel pumps off. And the aircraft will now start taking the fuel from the other areas. So people often ask, what is VATSIM? So think of VATSIM as a global virtual aviation network. Every controller is a real person. Every aircraft is a real person. There is no AI making decisions. What you're hearing tonight, or previously as we departed Corfu, was the closest thing to real-world airline operations most people can experience from home. All the procedures, setting up of the aircraft, everything that was followed earlier is exactly what your pilot would have done with the captain and first officer prior to you departing every time you go on holiday. The great question I got asked is, why do airliners not fly in a straight line? So for instance, if you were departing the UK and heading to the west, to the United States of America, you wouldn't just straight line it, you'd actually curve your flight plan. That's effectively because the Earth is a sphere, shortest route between 2 points called a great circle route. Think of it like stretching a piece of string tightly across the globe. That line is the shortest possible path. The reason it looks curved on flight tracker websites is because those websites are displaying around Earth on a flat screen. So a classic example is flights between Europe and North America. If you look at them on a map, they seem to fly far north towards Greenland and Iceland. It looks longer, but actually short. It's actually shorter than flying straight across the Atlantic on a flat map. So modern flight management computers constantly calculate these routes, which helps airliners save time, fuel, and money. Our next waypoint is Sotov. And coming 778 nautical miles remaining. Leaves us with roughly 1 hour and 46 minutes until we arrive in Birmingham.
Hi, how can I help you?
Hi, can you bring us some water, please?
Okay, I'll bring them up in a minute.
Hi guys, here are the drinks.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll soon be passing through the cabin with your meal. On the menu today we have a variety of dishes, full details of which can be found in our onboard magazine inside the seat back pocket in front of you. During the meal service we ask that you return your seat to the upright position as a courtesy to your fellow travellers. Thank you.
So we're leaving the Adriatic Sea behind and heading towards the mountainous terrain of Slovenia and Austria. One of the reasons routes like this are interesting is the sheer variety of scenery, coastlines, islands, mountains and major European cities all within a few hours. At our current speed we're covering roughly 8 nautical miles every minute, so by the time I've finished talking we'll have travelled another 10 miles closer to Birmingham. So looking out the window right now, see the coastlines there, now the built up areas. So we're currently running live weather and time, so it'll be interesting as we cross the Alps, see if we encounter a few bumps here and there, which will be expected and is completely normal. Mountain ranges can have significant effects on the airflow above them. Strong winds pass over the mountains, they create waves and disturbances in the atmosphere, sometimes extending tens or even hundreds of miles downwind. Even though we're cruising at 38,000 feet, the atmosphere isn't completely smooth. Air behaves a lot like water flowing over rocks in a river. Mountains disturb that flow, and the effects can be felt thousands of feet above the peaks themselves. So the highest peak in the Alps is Mont Blanc, at just under 16,000 feet. We're currently flying more than 20,000 feet above that. So fitting in with the Mont Blanc back there. Mount Everest stands at 29,000 feet above sea level. We're currently cruising at 38,000 feet, which means we're flying roughly 9,000 feet above the highest point on Earth. So if Everest was below us, we'd still be nearly 2 miles above it. So we've got a couple of altitudes back. So we're currently flying at flight level 380, 38,000 feet. So if for some reason we drop straight down from here, ignoring the obvious problems, it would take well over a minute to reach the ground. So since departing Corfu, we flew past Greece, Albania, Montenegro, Croatia, Slovenia, and Austria. There's some great questions coming through. Why do pilots dim the cabin lights for landing? Cabin lights are often dimmed before takeoff and landing, especially at night. The reason is atmosphere or mood is safety. If an evacuation became necessary, passengers' eyes would already be adjusted to the outside lighting conditions, allowing them to see exits more quickly. Another question, why is it colder at higher altitude? Outside the aircraft right now, we're at 38,000 feet. You can see TAT there is minus 33 degrees. As you climb through the atmosphere, temperature generally decreases because the air becomes less dense and holds less heat. That's one reason jet engines are so efficient at altitude. And another good question here, why do aircraft leave contrails, those lines in the sky? So there's many conspiracy theories regarding the contrails, but they're essentially man-made clouds. The hot exhaust gas from the engine mixed with extremely cold air at altitude, water vapour condenses and freezes almost instantly, creating the white clouds you sometimes see behind the aircraft. So you'll notice if you see, if you live by an airport, for example, you won't see any contrails. But then if you look up in the sky and see a plane cruising high altitude, you're more than likely to see the contrails. So just let me approach speed there. We'll be using 40 degrees flat and we're landing at 138 knots. Having a good time now to put the arrival in. So originally expecting runway 33, runway 33 at Birmingham. That's since changed due to weather. And we're now landing at runway 15, runway 15. So I'm taking the Hemel 1 Bravo star and the ILS for 15. And we'll be transitioning there at Birmingham or Cedar, so we'll just execute that. So to load up the chart now, the ILS DME is 146 degrees course. So we'll input this up here, 146. And the ILS frequency is 110.1. And we'll just move that to active. That essentially just configures the aircraft, the ILS landing. That makes things a bit easier when we get further closer to Birmingham. So following on from setting up the ILS there, which is the instrument landing system. People often say, what is an ILS? And it's one of the most common precision approach systems used by airliners around the world. Think of it as two invisible radio beams extending out from the runway. One beam provides left and right guidance, known as the localizer, and the other provides up and down guidance, known as the glide slope. So if you imagine a motorway in the sky leading directly to the runway, the localizer keeps you lined up with the centre line, or the glide slope keeps you on the correct descent path. So as we approach Birmingham, we'll intercept the localizer first, which lines up with the runway, then we'll capture the glide slope, which guides us down at approximately 3 degrees all the way to touchdown. The beauty of an ILS system is that it works even in poor weather, whether it's bright sunshine or low cloud and rain. The system gives pilots extremely accurate guidance to the runway. So on many modern airliners, the ILS is accurate enough that the aircraft can actually land itself when conditions require it. Pilots are still monitoring everything, but the aircraft will follow those radio signals all the way to the runway. So when you hear pilots talking about capturing the localizer or capturing the glide slope, what they're really saying is that the aircraft has found those invisible radio highways leading us safely to the runway. A quick update from the flight deck. We're established at flight level 380 and we've just passed Zebec. So approximately 560 nautical miles remaining to Birmingham and around 1 hour and 18 minutes left in the flight. We're now crossing Central Europe and steadily making our way towards Germany, Belgium and eventually the United Kingdom. So the question that's come in is regarding the runway numbers. So we use Birmingham for example. Runway 33 at Birmingham isn't named 33 because it's the 33rd runway. Runway numbers are based on magnetic heading. Runway 33 points approximately 330 degrees. So the opposite way becomes runway 15 for 150 degrees. So now entering that stage of flight where Birmingham stops feeling like a destination on the flight plan and starts feeling like somewhere we're actually going to be landing soon. see on the flight display the barometric number increasing there. I got a bit carried away there. We need 403. So what minimum? We'll load up the flight chart for your arrival. Our minimums are essentially the altitude at which we must have the required visual reference to continue the landing. If we reach that altitude and can't see what we need to see, simply the runway environment, re-excuse the missed approach and try again, or consider another option. So think of it as a decision point. Up until minimums, we're flying the instrument. At minimums, we either transition to visual references outside or go around. Because we're flying an ILS, the minimums are quite low compared to a non-precision approach. Radio guidance allowed us to send safety much closer to the runway before making that decision. So we set them manually. Even though modern aircraft are incredibly capable, we still set minimums as a cross-check. If the aircraft descends through that altitude, it'll give us an audible call-out to make sure we're both aware we're reaching the decision point. So as we get close to Birmingham, you'll hear call-outs such as 1,500 minimum. Those are helping the crew monitor the approach and stay ahead of the aircraft. So one of the most important phases in aviation is actually very simple. Continue or go around. By the time we reach minimum, that's essentially the decision we're making. So the arrival set up. The ILS is tuned, the course is set, the minimums are set. We're gradually transitioning from cruise mode, and we're looking at our descent as we get close to the United Kingdom. So this is one of those things passengers never see. Long before the runway appears out the windscreen, the crew are already built the approach to the aircraft system, checking charts at the start and preparing the busiest phase of the flight. So if you look on the FMC there, you'll see 384 nautical miles, and you'll see above T/D. That's actually distance remaining to the top descent, and it's 382 nautical miles. We'll be descending to Birmingham. what's on the right of us there's an A350, and that's left Cairo and is heading all the way to Cleveland. To the aircraft, the altitude shortly, that's 21 knots difference there. And for the reference to speed, due to our speed that we're travelling at also. So on the flight display ahead, you see the green with the blue. So the range on the map there is currently 160 nautical miles. So the blue there is actually off the coast of Belgium and it's showing the English Channel. So the higher ranges are great if you cross the Atlantic where your waypoint is quite sparse. But as you can see here, zoom right out, it's just a complete mess. And all the waypoints just on top of each other. Actually the diamond there with +20, that's signifying that the aircraft ahead and it's 2,000 feet higher than we are. There's the diamond of the +20, and the A350 we mentioned earlier. Currently cruising at 40,000, whereas we're at 38,000. So the system behind the aircraft showing up on the flight display there is the TCAS. That's effectively constantly monitoring other aircraft in the area by interrogating their transponders and building a real-time traffic picture around us. In this case, there's absolutely no concern. The A350 is around 2,000 feet above us and ahead of us, and ahead on its own route. So it's simply traffic information for visual awareness. So if another aircraft starts becoming a potential conflict, TCAS would first generate a traffic advisory, or TA, which basically tells the crew pay attention, there's traffic nearby. If situations continue to develop, TCAS would issue a resolution advisory, or RA, which would provide vertical guidance such as climb or descent until separation is maintained. So the clever part is that both aircraft coordinate with each other. If one aircraft is told to climb, the other will be told to descend. They work together automatically. So even on VATSIM, the TCAS system is fully functioning. So every aircraft you see here is another real pilot flying somewhere in the network. And the skies are actually enormous, even when aircraft floats on the display, it's often several miles away and separated by thousands of feet. So it's just a good example of modern aviation safety. Long before aircraft get anywhere near each other, multiple systems, including ATC and TCAS, are already monitoring and maintaining safe separation. So getting ahead, there's no air traffic control over the United Kingdom at the moment, so we're still on Unicom. So as we're approaching Birmingham, you'll hear me making position reports on Unicom. Unlike controlled airspace where air traffic control provides instructions, Unicom is a common traffic frequency where pilots broadcast their intentions to help maintain situational awareness. So a good explanation for that is these calls aren't requests for permission, they're information broadcasts. The idea is that everyone in the area can build a mental picture of where other aircraft are and what they're doing. I predominantly fly with air traffic control. Obviously it's 2:30 in the morning now in the UK, so everyone's getting a bit of rest there. Good example of Unicom working well. I remember flying to Dublin. There was no air traffic control on. There was about 7 of us lining up to land. We were all talking to each other, holding, keeping separation, keeping everything flowing, and keeping everyone's immersion and enjoyment of VATSIM. And a quick update from the flight deck. We're currently cruising at flight level 380 with just under 350 nautical miles remaining till Birmingham. At our current ground speed of around 440 knots, we're looking at less than an hour to go before arrival. So what's coming next? The next waypoint is Dennis. Dennis is one of our final major en route fixes before we start transitioning towards UK airspace. And after Dennis, we'll be heading towards Hemel. Hemel is a fairly familiar waypoint for anyone flying into London and the Midlands area. Once we reach Hemel, we're effectively entering the arrival phase of the flight. So people often wonder why descent starts so early. So we'll start descending while still over 100 miles from Birmingham. The reason is simple physics. We're currently 7 miles above the Earth and travelling at nearly 500 miles an hour. Losing that altitude smoothly takes a lot more distance than people expect. So an interesting fact about Birmingham. Birmingham Airport sits almost exactly in the centre of England. Historically, the Midlands became one of the UK's industrial powerhouses because of its central location and transport links. So from the passenger's perspective, it probably looks like not much will be happening right now. In reality, we're cruise start mentally transitioning from cruise to arrival. We're thinking about runway conditions, approach setup, descent planning, missed approach procedures, and traffic around the destination. So one thing VATSIM does really well is it forces you to think ahead. In real aviation and on VATSIM alike, pilots who stay ahead of the aircraft generally have the easiest flight. So if you look on the links on the chat, that'll take you to VATSIM radar. You see quite a few aircraft around Frankfurt, Amsterdam and London. If you look at the traffic around Frankfurt, Amsterdam and London, you see some of the busiest aviation hubs in Europe. Every one of those aircraft is another person somewhere in the world flying online. So we've now entered the final hour of flight. The aircraft is fully set up for the arrival. The ILS is tuned. Minimums are set, and before too long we'll be leaving flight level 380 and beginning our descent into Birmingham. If I zoom in there, I know it's a bit jumbled there with the waypoint, but you should be able to make out in green. Halfway up, T/D, that is signifying the top of descent. And at that point, that's where the aircraft will start descending. And a nice smooth slope down towards Birmingham. see there, we're just banking over. As we head towards Hemel, and we're leaving the Belgian coast there, as we make our way across the channel. So 30 minutes until we arrive at Birmingham, with 215 nautical miles remaining. So keeping ahead of the aircraft, we'll now start the approach brief.
Are you ready for the approach brief?
Okay.
The arrival routine will be via the ATC assigned star, comply with all published speeds and altitude restrictions. For an ILS approach, planning a flaps 40 landing, final approach fixed altitude is 2,500 feet, 403 feet. Missed approach altitude is 3,000 feet. Taxi routine will be assigned by ATC. We'll be arriving at a remote stand. No APU required. We'll be using the GPU after shutdown. Descent speeds and navigation radios are set. Airport NOTAMs have been reviewed. Any questions, comments, concerns?
No questions.
Approach brief complete.
So we'll now run through the descent checklist.
Descent checklist.
Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 350 feet. Recall checked. Auto brake level 1. Landing data.
VREF 137 minimums 403 feet.
VREF 137 minimums 403 feet. Approach briefing.
Completed.
Descent checklist completed.
So we'll now just brief the cabin steward and let them know that we're close to our top of descent.
Hi, how can I help you?
Hi, just to let you know, we're going to be starting our descent shortly.
Thanks for letting me know.
So this gives them advance notice so they can prepare for landing. So now we've got around 26 minutes remaining before Birmingham. The aircraft is fully set up for the arrival. The ILS is tuned, the approach has been briefed, and we're now monitoring the descent profile. Over the next few minutes, we'll begin descending from 38,000 feet. You'll start seeing speed reductions, altitude restrictions, and more activity in the cockpit as we prepare the aircraft for landing. You can see on the FMC there, 64 nautical miles, and that's the distance to the top of descent. So we'll just cycle through the waypoint. And you can see 090 there, that'll be 9,000. Yeah, that's 9,000 at Honolulu. So Hemel 220 will be our first. Altitude, the target, 220, then 90. Then we're looking for 2,500 feet when we intercept the ILS, the runway 15 at Birmingham. So we've been holding Mach decimal 81 there. If we just activate VNAV, do the engines wind back now. So this is the plane now fully managing the speed. So change the altitude now to 220, 22,000 feet. And at the top of the descent, the plane will start descending. And we're looking for 22,000 feet at the waypoint Hemel. So power Mach decimal 81 all the way, just activated VNAV, and we're now cruising Mach decimal 792. So holding Mach decimal 81 instead of the preferred 792 actually means we were roughly travelling 12 to 14 miles per hour quicker, which over the last couple of hours reduces some time on the flight. And also allows us to be economical as well with the fuel. Let's look on the FMC, you can see a discontinuity after the Grove waypoint. We'll actually be taking Oscar, and we're going direct to runway 15, section of the ILS. So we'll go down to Charlie Foxtrot 15. I'll just move that up here in place of Grove. Execute. So the reason for that is simply because in its previous configuration after Grove, the plane wasn't configured to Charlie Foxtrot 15, so we'll just continue the straight heading from Grove. So by changing that, we're going to pass Oscar, then direct Charlie Foxtrot 15, where we'll intercept the ILS. This allows for a smoother navigation to the airport. So you see the circle there on the flight display with T/D, that's the top descent. So keep an eye out for that. As soon as we reach that point, the aircraft will start descending to 220, 22,000 feet. Stick to the thrust levers now. Returning. As you now start descending. And there it is, we've just reached the top of descent. The last couple of hours the aircraft has been cruising at flight level 380. But from this point onwards we're training altitude for position and energy as we make our way into Birmingham. The descent from 38,000 feet doesn't happen quickly, even though Birmingham is still over 100 miles away. We need that distance to lose nearly 7 miles of altitude in a controlled and efficient manner. So the top of the descent isn't a fixed point on a map, it's calculated by the flight management computer using our altitude, speed, route, wind and arrival constraints. The aircraft is essentially working out the optimum place to start down, so we arrive at each waypoint at the correct altitude. So off to the right on the first officer's flight display, you'll see the triangle with a downward line. That's the vertical profile. So at this stage I'm monitoring the vertical profile, checking speed restriction, making sure we're remaining on the planned descent path. The goal is to arrive at the approach fully stabilised rather than trying to fix problems at the last minute. So following on from earlier when we selected the VNAV, the aircraft is following a VNAV profile. VNAV stands for vertical navigation and allows the FMC to manage the descent profile automatically based on the route and altitude constraints we've programmed. So one of the marks of a well-managed flight is that the descent feels boring. If you're needing to use speed brake inputs for aggressive manoeuvres, something probably wasn't planned correctly. Over the next 20 minutes you'll notice the aircraft gradually slowing down, descending through the flight levels and transitioning from high altitude cruise speed towards approach speed. The next waypoint we're approaching is Hemel at altitude 22,000 feet, passing through 280, 28,000 feet now. That's our first major arrival constraint and helps position us correctly for the descent into the Midlands. with the thrust levers just coming forward now. As the speed's increasing, as the profile's being managed. That's just a good example of how the plane is constantly making these corrections to ensure we maintain the profile. So we now reduce the altitude to 9,000 with the altitude restraint at Honolulu.
Approach checklist.
Approach checklist. Altimeters.
1013 set.
1013 set. Approach checklist completed.
Banking over now from Hemel as we head towards Buzzard, then Welling, then Puffack, then Honolulu at 9,000 feet. There's been no work perfectly there. We passed Hemel at 220, now descending below 210. First officer's flight display there. You can see the next waypoint, Buzzard. And what you'll notice is the line for the descent profile is not as steep as it previously was. So we'll be expecting that to taper off gradually. That's correct, a smooth approach into Birmingham as opposed to nose diving in. So one of the reasons we follow these altitude restrictions so carefully is to manage energy. At the moment we've got a huge amount of energy stored in the aircraft in the form of both altitude and speed. Altitude is effectively potential energy. Too high, the aircraft naturally wants to accelerate as it comes down. If you're already too fast, suddenly got a lot of energy to get rid of before landing. The aim is to arrive at each waypoint at the correct altitude and speed so the aircraft can descend smoothly rather than diving towards the runway and trying to recover later. So what happens if you're too high? If you're too high on profile, you often end up setting speed brakes, increasing descent rates and making large power adjustments. The approach becomes unstable and the workload increases dramatically. So what happens if you're too fast? 737 MAX 8 at 250 knots is carrying a tremendous amount of kinetic energy compared to a 737 at approach speed. Every extra knot has to be removed before landing, and that takes distance. So one of the phrases pilots use is high and fast. That's probably one of the least desirable situations on an arrival, because you're trying to lose both altitude and speed at the same time. So why do we start so early? That's why we're beginning this process over 100 miles away from Birmingham. A smooth approach isn't something that happens on final. It's built gradually all the way to the top of the descent. So a good one to remember is good approaches are planned, bad approaches are salvaged. Look on the flight display there. You'll see the green lettering detail, and that simply stands for acceleration point, calculated point where the flight management user expects the aircraft to be slowing down from cruise or arrival speed towards approach speed. Up till now we've been flying at high speed cruise and descent speed. As we get close to Birmingham, we need to gradually reduce speed so the aircraft can safely configure for landing. The detail point helps the aircraft manage that transition automatically. So when we reach the decel point, the aircraft will typically begin reducing speed in accordance with the arrival and approach profile. Eventually we'll slow enough to start selecting flap settings and configuring for landing. So speed intervention there, we can actually help out a little bit. So give the plane a helping hand there by just reducing the speed gradually for the detail point. And remember, below 10,000 feet, we need to stick to 250 knots. Thought that we're past 11,000 feet. And once we pass below 10,000 feet, one of the major milestones in any flight, you'll notice a number of things happen around this altitude. Landing lights come on, seatbelt signs are often checked, and the aircraft transitions fully into the arrival phase. Real-world airline operations below 10,000 feet, crews enter what's known as the sterile cockpit phase. Non-essential conversation stops and the process becomes entirely operational until the aircraft is safely established and parked on stand.
Cabin crew, prepare for landing. Flight level 100.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be arriving at our destination shortly. If you are making a connecting flight, please see the customer service agent meeting this flight or the video monitors inside the terminal for connecting gate information. For your continued safety, flight attendants will now walk through the cabin to secure it for landing. We'll collect any off-service items, newspapers and any other items that you wish to discard or may not be taking off the aircraft with you. Also, in preparation for landing, please turn off all electronic devices. Stow these devices within all other carry-on items. Please use caution when opening the overhead bins, as items may have shifted during our flight. Please stow your tray tables and return your seats to their upright position and check the security of your seatbelt. We'll be landing shortly. Thank you.
Radio Traffic Ryanair 51 Juliet, Quebec, passing Honolulu at 9,000 feet, continuing the ILS runway 15 approach, Birmingham.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes we'll be passing through the cabin with landing cards. It's important that you have the correct documentation with your passport by the time you reach the immigration authorities, so you are not unnecessarily delayed at passport control. If you're unfamiliar with the airport, you'll find full details in the magazine, situated in the seat pockets in front of you. We'd like to remind passengers smoking is only permitted within the terminal in designated areas. Please ensure you take all personal items and hand baggage with you. Should you have any further concerns, please don't hesitate to ask a member of the crew or the ground staff upon arrival, who'll be happy to assist you. And ladies and gentlemen, as we are approaching our destination, if you have any last-minute purchases that you'd like to make before we close the duty-free bar, please notify a member of the cabin crew immediately. Thank you.
Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1 set.
Change from standard barometric pressure there to the local barometric pressure, which this morning in Birmingham is 1016 hectopascals.
Flaps 5.
Speed checked. Flaps 5 set. Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, the cabin is secure.
Gear down. Flaps 15.
Gear down. Speed checked. Flaps 15 set.
Now on the localizer. And speed brake also on.
Radio altimeter alive. Cabin crew, take your seats. Final approach fix, height checked, missed approach altitude is set.
Radio traffic Ryanair 51 Juliet Quebec, established ILS runway 15, 6 miles out.
Flaps 30.
Speed checked. Flaps 30 set.
Flaps 40.
Speed checked. Flaps 40 set.
Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 40, green light.
Landing checklist completed.
Thank you, traffic Ryanair 51 Juliet Quebec.
1,000 feet, stable.
Manual flight.
Autopilot off.
Approaching 15.
So looking at the puppy lights there, we want 2 white, 2 red.
500 feet.
Glide slow 400. Glide slow 300. Glide slow. Glide slow Glide slope 200. Glide slope. Approaching minimums. Glide slope. 100 minimums.
Continue.
Glide slope 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brake up. Reverses normal. Auto brake disarmed.
Manual braking.
60 knots.
Checked.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the captain and the entire crew, we'd like to welcome you to our destination. For your safety, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, leaving all items of hand luggage safely stowed until the seatbelt signs have been switched off. Before you leave the aircraft, please ensure you have all your personal items and hand luggage with you. Please be careful when opening overhead lockers, as items may fall out, causing injury. We'd like to remind you that smoking is not permitted until you've reached the designated smoking area. If you require assistance when you leave the aircraft, please contact a member of our ground staff. If you're connecting to another flight today and hold a boarding card and transfer wallet advising you of your departure terminal, please follow the signs to flight connections. This will lead you on to your departure terminal, and please check your gate number in the departure lounge. To avoid missing your onward flight, we strongly recommend that you go straight to your departure terminal. For those of you who do not have a boarding card, please go directly to the Flight Connections desk. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the entire airline, thank you very much for choosing to fly with us today, and we hope to see you again in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you for flying Ryanair. Last year, over 90% of our flights arrived on time. We hope you enjoyed yours, and we look forward to welcoming you on board again soon. Ryanair. Low fares, made simple.
Three minutes.
So click the ground power unit there. And we start put down procedures.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the captain and the entire crew, we'd like to welcome you to our destination. For your safety, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, leaving all items of hand luggage safely stowed
Lights
until
and
the
doors.
seatbelt
Check.
signs have been switched off.
Shutdown checklist.
Stand by.
Before you
Cabin
leave the
crew,
aircraft,
disarm
please
doors
ensure
and
you have all
cross-check.
your
Doors
personal
disarmed,
items and hand
no
luggage with
APU.
you. Please be careful when opening
We are
overhead
not at
lockers
3
as
minutes yet.
items may fall out, causing injury. We'd like to remind you that smoking is not permitted until you've reached a designated smoking area. If you require assistance when you leave the aircraft, please contact a member of our ground staff. If you're connecting to another flight today and hold a boarding card and transfer wallet advising you of your departure terminal, please follow the signs to flight connections. This will
Shutdown
lead you on
checklist.
to your departure
Fuel
terminal,
pumps off,
and please
probe
check your
heat
gate
off,
number in the
hydraulic
departure
panel
lounge.
set, flaps
To
up.
avoid missing
Parking
your onward
brake.
flight, we strongly
Set.
recommend that you
Engine
go
start
straight to your
levers.
departure
Cut off.
terminal.
Weather radar.
For those of
Off.
you who do not
Off.
have a boarding
Shutdown
card,
checklist
please
completed.
go directly to the flight connections desk. Once again, ladies and gentlemen,
Secure the aircraft,
on
please.
behalf of the entire airline, thank you very much for choosing to fly with us today, and we hope to see you again in the near future. Thank you.
Secure checklist, please.
Secure checklist. IRSs off. Emergency exit lights off. Window heat off. Packs off. Secure checklist complete.
Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight.
Problem detected.
So thanks once again if you've been watching this evening, or this morning rather. Hope you enjoyed it and learned a few things on the way. All the best, take care. That was Delta out there to get to. Thanks for providing the airstairs. Much appreciated.